if you're always playing Mr. Nice Guy, people will use you. A lot of people, always take advantage of nice guys, and most times take it from. I don't want to say I was once a nice guy. I mean, I'm still a nice guy. Look at my face, so innocent and so cute. But I'm a nice guy with boundaries, right? I'm a nice guy with boundaries because I've come to understand that sometimes people don't like nice guys. They just like what you do for them. They just like the fact that you are always reliable. They like the fact that they can mess up, treat you like trash, treat you anyhow, and you will always be there to welcome them with open arms, like all these teddy bears. So you're basically a teddy bear to them that would always accept them. But it doesn't have to be that way. You have a life, you have a purpose, you have a calling on your life greater than you think. And one thing with God is God says, he doesn't really like people that please men. He's not a fan of people that are focused on pleasing men. And sometimes when we are being too nice or overly available to people, we're actually becoming men pleasers to the point of even denying ourselves of basic things like our own time, our own money, our own attention, because we don't want to make somebody feel bad. And that's part of the problem with being a nice guy. But let me tell you something. Niceness is not a fruit of the spirit. Kindness is. So being nice is not a fruit of the spirit, like I said. Being kind is. So you may ask, what's the difference? Well, you can be nice and kind, but you can be kind but not always nice. And what that means is, take for instance, you have a child that wants to take maybe juice or a drink, and that drink is very sugary, right? And the child has had maybe one that day, and the child meets you and say, hey dad or mom, I want another drink, and maybe even give it to them, so they've had two, and then they come back again and say, dad, I want another drink. Now, kindness is you understand the impact that too much sugar can have on your child. And so being kind means you tell that child, honey or baby, I love you, but you can't have that, you can't have another drink. That's what white people will say. In my country, your mother will just look at you. The mother look or the dad look. Especially mothers, not even dads. Sometimes they won't even answer. They'll just look at you. And that look is like a full paragraph that you just understand faster than ChatGPT understands you. You just, mom, please, can I have another drink? Just look at you like this. And you just respect yourself, like the fear of the Lord will just come upon you. You get. So in that instance, in that case, they are being kind by not giving you that drink. It's also like a baby. A baby can see fire and be like, oh, so pretty, and the baby wants to play with fire. But as an adult, you prevent the baby from playing with fire because you understand that fire would hurt them. That is being kind, not being nice. So sometimes they go together, but sometimes kindness feels like wickedness. And here's the deal, right? Kindness is not only when it involves other people. You also have to be kind to yourself. And that's what nice people need to understand. You can't keep giving your resources, keep giving your time, to people who don't appreciate it, and to people who see you like trash, to people who treat you anyhow. You understand? Like maybe somebody wants, you have a skill and somebody wants to do something, and the person calls you to help them out with it, and they choose to pay you lesser than your worth, or they choose to not pay you what you charge them because you're my friend now, and they even gaslight you into feeling bad that you are not you don't want to do it for a smaller fee. But as I was talking with my friend, we've had those experiences. You will now find out that those same people, when they have money or when they are ready to do that stuff and spend well for it, they will not patronize you. They will go and pay somebody else that same amount you charge them, sometimes even higher than that. And that's just life. And the truth is, people treat you the way you present yourself. So nobody's going to treat you based on their perception. You actually teach people how to treat you. And that's one of the problems with being a nice guy, right? So you get the context of what I mean by nice guy by now. So I'm not saying don't be nice, but being that nice guy that, people can always see. The truth is, guys, sometimes disappoints people. Sometimes, not everybody. There are certain people who have invested in your life. There are certain people who are, key parts of your life that you shouldn't do that to. But once you notice somebody is getting too comfortable with you, using you, like the person is now becoming like it's they are entitled to you doing certain things for them, please, by all means, disappoint them, and disappoint them with your full chest. Let them call you wicked. If that's the case, I'm not saying be wicked, but I'm saying please disappoint them, and disappoint them well. So stop being too nice to people. Be kind always, but don't always be nice. Sometimes putting yourself first is not selfish. There's this scripture that says, can the blind lead the blind? If a blind person leads another blind person, both of them will end up in a pit. So sometimes you have to put yourself first. What that means is that you can't be in need of help in a certain way and then be also trying to help people in that way. So sometimes you have to put yourself first, not because you are self-centered, but because you want to grow to the point where you can now eventually help people the way you want to help them. If you keep being available to everyone, you will lose your worth. Imagine if gold was like rocks on the streets. Right, everybody could just go and pick them. Or imagine if all the precious stones could be easily found, then they would lose their worth. One of the reasons why they are worth that much is because of the scarcity and sometimes the difficulty in assessing them. So I'm not saying be a difficult person, I'm not saying be a scarce person, but I'm saying don't be too nice especially to people that don't appreciate it. And you may ask, how do you know those people? The truth is, if you tell yourself the truth, I had some friends rather that don't call me, they don't check on me, they don't reach out to me only when they need something. That has been the basis of the whole, I won't even call it a friendship, I'll just say that was like a form of relationship where I was always being sucked dry. So you would always know, the signs will be there for you to identify that, okay, this friendship or this relationship or this particular interaction with this person is actually the person taking advantage of me, and not the person being intentional or being appreciative of what you give them and what you do for them. So pay attention to those signs. And I think another sign too is their lack of gratitude. If they feel entitled to your help, you get, that is a sign that these people are just using you as rag. You get, so be kind, but not necessarily always nice. So someone may be asking, so how do I stop allowing people to trample on me, and how do I maintain my self-worth and things like that? How do I prevent myself from being a doormat that people step on at will and use anyhow? One of the ways is to learn to say no. Learn to say no. No is a very powerful word. In fact, it is one of the most powerful words that you can learn to say. And saying no is not just, it doesn't just end there, standing by it. So when you notice that somebody, is taking advantage of you, you have to learn to say no. So when next the person asks for something, and by the way, you don't have to be rude or arrogant, because that's where some people miss it. They think, you have to be rude, you have to be arrogant, you have to, just be a jerk or something when you're saying it. No, you can smile. Have you seen somebody that says no with a smile? That's the one that is to even pain pass. That's like the painful, the painful no. If you're on the receiving end, and hey, I'm not saying cause pain to people, please, but I'm just trying to say, you can say no in a very nice way. All the way people respond to formal messages from the office and other stuff. Dear HR, while I appreciate, and you're typing, while I appreciate your sincere concern and the opportunity to invite me for the dinner, however, I have to politely and kindly decline for certain reasons. You understand? So that's you saying no, but just put plenty English inside there. Basically, to just be polite, because the truth is, in as much as you are protecting yourself, you don't have to hurt other people in the process. in a way, and you don't have to be rude or arrogant about it, because hey, nobody knows tomorrow. You may also need their help in one way or the other, in the future. So, and sometimes people don't, I don't want to say people don't intentionally use you, but I would say sometimes people just get caught up in that fact that you're always there for them, you're always reliable, and sometimes they trivialize that availability. Don't be rude, don't be arrogant, because you may also need their help in the future. You never can tell. Life is just this one unpredictable journey, you understand? And that's important because you never can tell how the future is going to be. So even when you set boundaries, and when you learn to say no, do it in a nice way, do it politely but firmly. So politely but firmly, which means stand your ground. Number 2, learn to set boundaries. Learn to set boundaries. For instance, let's say you have a skill and you have a very close friend, and let's say you're a photographer and you decided to shoot your friend's wedding for literally peanuts, and then somebody else finds out that you did that, and then the person comes and says, you did it for Mr. A, why don't you do it for me? You have to say no. So even setting boundaries and saying no are intertwined, they are related to each other. So you have to set boundaries in the way people talk to you, in the way you carry yourself, in the places you go to, literally every aspect to what you're trying to achieve by setting those boundaries, right, is to have people have a certain perception of you. You don't want someone to have a perception of you that is wrong, or that can encourage them to act a certain way towards you. So maybe when you are when you're with your friends, the way you behave should be different from when you're in a public setting. For instance, you don't want to come off, and even in the way you speak, if you are a skilled person, you have a skill, or you have a you are doing something, you don't want to sound in a way that maybe you are cheap. Like for instance, when you are negotiating with a client, you are sounding as if the client is doing you a favor by hiring you, whereas both of you are doing each other a favor. You understand? So that's like a speech boundary in some sense. So you know how you present yourself, you know how you speak to the client in a way that is polite, but the client doesn't feel like they are lord over you. They don't feel like this guy na Drew man, anything you pay me go collect. You understand? So if you're not Nigerian, what that means is like this guy is basically, I don't know what's the English word for Jew man now. But this guy, whatever you pay him, he's going to collect. Like, he's not wise, he's not smart, things like that. So that's just one of the ways you can set boundaries. You have to set boundaries in every area applicable, and that would inform how people would even approach you in the first place. People would relate with you based on how you carry yourself and based on the certain boundaries that you set for yourself in that sense. Okay, so point number 3, know who your true friends are. Don't just assume everybody's your friend. Some people are only there because of what they can gain from you. Some people are only close because of the advantages, because they want to take advantage of you. Sounds evil, sounds wicked, but that's just how the world is. So you actually have to discern those who are truly your friends. The truth is, every friendship should be beneficial to both parties. If you're noticing that the friendship is one-sided, you're always the one giving, you're always the one there, you're always the one making sacrifices, you're always the one sending money, or you're always giving of yourself, then that friendship is, in my opinion, I'll say that's a toxic friendship. And you may say, okay, what if you need them for certain things? Yeah, I'm not saying stop being friends with them, but just set boundaries, know how to relate with them. It's not everybody that you block, it's not everybody that you delete their number. There are certain people too that may be gatekeepers. There are certain people that may play a vital role in your life's future. Like Apostle Selman will say, there are some people that they are keys to your destiny, just paraphrasing, like they have an important role to play, and they may not treat you the best way, but stay there. You get I'm not saying stay in an abusive relationship or an abusive friendship. Please understand the context and know how to balance it out. That's what I'm trying to say. But when you know people and how they act, you would better relate with them, in certain ways. Like there are some people now, when I see their phone call, I know they're asking for something, so I don't even pick. You get like 99.9% of the time they call you is because they need something. You get, so once I see that call, I know that they have come again. They have come again. They have come again. These friends, they have come again. You get, so I just know, and that's because I've studied them. I've known them, that this is how they are. This is their temperament. This is how they relate with me. They only see me as, people, that someone that they just use. And you may say, yeah, you may not actually call them friends. You're calling them a friend is just being generous. You understand? Just for friends' sake, for calling them friends, sake, if there's anything like that. So, guys, that's it. You are not called to be a Mr. Nice Guy. You are called to be a kind person. Even Jesus dealt with the Pharisees. That was not nice. When he took koboko and entered the temple, when he took a whip, that's what koboko is, and entered into the temple, that was not nice, but that was kind, because they were misusing the temple. They were, abusing God's love or God's mercy by doing certain things in the temple that they were not supposed to do. So that was not nice. That was kind. To know the difference, you are called to be a kind person, not a nice person. And lastly, pray. Ask the Holy Spirit to give you the courage to say no. Ask God to give you the grace to say no. Because I know sometimes some people would rather want the earth to open up and swallow them than to say no. You can get that bad. Like some people are just afraid of standing up for themselves. You can get that bad. And hey, most of us were like that at some point, but we had to make a choice, and we've grown from that level, and we're not still there yet, but you can develop that skill of learning to say no and still being a nice person and a kind person, but one that people don't trample upon, because that's the important thing, so that people don't trample upon you, and so that you can not be a people pleaser in that sense, and still be a good friend, and still be a good husband, and be a kind person as a whole, and reflect Christ in the way that you live your life. So guys, that's it for today's episode of Church Boy Talks. Please don't forget to like and share and subscribe, and turn on your post notification so that you get notified. And hey, if you have stories about being a nice guy and how you've come out from it, share in the comments. Somebody might pick it up and learn a thing or two from your story. Until I come your way next time, I remain your humble host, Blessed Patrick. See you guys on the next episode. Peace out.